So welcome everybody to our wellness webinar tonight. Tonight's topic is Understanding Stress, How to Live a Long, Healthy Life. I'm Dr. Tabor Smith. And first of all, I just want to thank you for coming out. I want to introduce, this is my wife, Dr. Gina Smith, in case you don't know. Most of you on here tonight, I think, are have definitely met Gina and can't come in the practice, and there may be a couple of visitors here, so welcome. If you haven't ever been to our office before, we're glad to have you. It's my wife Gina, and that's Ryder, and if you know Ryder, he does not look like that anymore. He is about 3 times that size. So this picture here, the next picture that you'll see is Ryder this last summer when we used to go swimming. He is a water bug. He loves the water. Once he gets in, you can't get him out. And so he's a little bit older here, but here's one of the more recent pictures for you. This is Ryder when he was 2 years old. This is January. His birthday was January 17th, and he just turned 2. And now he's a big boy, and so I always like to show him off on these webinars, and of course show my wife, my beautiful wife Gina, off as well. Here's the big question: can you win this battle? This webinar is about stress, and to begin with, a lot of people ask me. They say, Dr. Tabor, you're a chiropractor. What are you doing talking about stress? Aren't you supposed to just talk about the spine? Fortunately, chiropractic is very good for back pain. It's very good for headaches. It's very good for neck pain. I personally know that. When I was growing up, if you don't know my story, I was a very active kid, just like a lot of kids were, but I played basketball. That was my sport, and growing up, my dad was a high school basketball coach, and I was so proud. My junior year of high school, I actually made the team, and I played for a couple of games, and my back started hurting, my low back. And so my parents didn't know anything about chiropractic, so they gave me over-the-counter medications, and I took those pain pills. They helped a little bit, but not much. And it just kept getting worse and kept getting worse until it got to where I would get shooting pains just down both of my legs and all the way to my feet. It was miserable. Anytime I moved in a certain position, I had to quit the team. I couldn't play basketball, and I could barely get into bed by myself. In fact, there were a couple nights that my parents took me to the emergency room because my pain got so bad in my low back, and I was only 16 years old. And so, we didn't know what to do other than just keep going to the emergency room, keep taking drugs and pills. I was taking strong prescription strength pain pills. And finally someone told us about a chiropractor, and I started going to the chiropractor every other day before school, and I remember within 2 or 3 months that pain just started slowly going away, and then it just kept getting better and better and better until I was a normal young 16-year-old boy again. And my senior year, I got to play basketball again. I made the varsity basketball team again, and I was able to actually play 2 years of college basketball, and never would have got to do if it wasn't for chiropractic that helped me. And if you've ever been in that kind of pain, it's a prison. It really is. You can't do anything. So I can appreciate that, and I have sympathy for people when they come in and they're in bad pain. And thank goodness that chiropractic is good to help that. But chiropractic also helps the overall body, and I learned that. My family learned that, and that any of you who know my family or my story, my mother passed away. She died of a heart attack when she was only 47 years old. And she had a lot of health problems. She battled health her whole life, and she was type 1 diabetic, which made it even harder for her. And personally, I think dying at 47 is too young. And if there are some things that we can do and some things that we can learn, and that's what I decided to do, is go out there and learn what can I do to lower my chances of that ever happening to me, and to help me to live this longer, healthier life. And we found that stress is a major cause of it. It's a major cause of health problems, and we're going to go through that. And I'm going to show you how chiropractic can help with that as well. Now, the first thing that we have to do when we're talking about stress is we have to realize that stress is real. Stress is a specific response to the body. This is right out of Webster's dictionary. Stress is a specific response by the body to a stimulus that disturbs or interferes with our normal physiological balance or equilibrium. Okay, now I know that was pretty deep. That was straight out of the dictionary. Here is my definition. Here, I took those words and I changed them. Basically, stress is anything that the body has to adapt to in order to survive. And that's important because it's a very smart response, this stress response, and it allows our body to deal with these stresses. Now, before we go into what happens when we encounter stress, I want to share with you there are 3 sources of stress. And these 3 sources of stress are going to encompass every area of stress that we could possibly come in contact with. Okay, so the first area of stress is physical stress. Now, physical stress we understand is slips and falls, car accidents. Football players are in physical stress all the time. Those types of bangs and scuffs and bruises, that's physical stress on the body. That can cause a stress response in our body. The second source of stress is chemical stress or toxins, right? There are a lot of different types of toxins. Even pharmaceutical drugs can be a toxin on the body. Of course, everybody knows alcohol or smoking cigarettes is a stress on the body, but we're seeing this more and more in our society, and just smog, right? We're around these toxins all the time. They're putting things in our foods that they're giving them longer shelf life. They could sit on the shelf for 5 years and you could still eat it. But those types of processed foods are also a toxin and a tax on our body, and they cause a stress response. The third and final area of stress is the one that we all deal with, and that is emotional stress. Okay? And I don't care who you are, at some point in your life you're going to go through emotional stress, some more than others. But emotional stresses can cause health problems. And I've seen it 100 times. And a lot of times, especially us men, we don't think emotions have anything to do with physical health, but they really do. So we're going to look at this aspect, this stress response, okay? And when I say stress response, this is what actually happens, what physically happens inside your body every time you come across a stress, okay? Now, remember there are 2 types of stress. They both cause the same response, but there are 2 types. One is an acute stress, right? So the stress comes, we get over it. The second one is what we're in a lot today, most of us are in, and that's chronic stress. And that's stress that happens to us all the time, constantly. So before we get started on showing you what the stress response is, it's very important that you understand this, that the physiological changes or the changes that happen inside your body associated with this acute stress response, they're absolutely necessary for survival. So God was very smart to allow us to have a stress response. He put that in our body so that we could adapt and survive everyday stress. If we couldn't produce those changes in our body, we wouldn't deal with any type of stress and we'd just die anytime we had any kind of occurrence of stress. So that being said, let me paint you a picture here. And I'm going to give you an example of an acute stress and the stress response. So let's say you're walking along in a jungle, right? All of a sudden this tiger just jumps out at you and roars. Now, I don't know about you, but that could cause stress in me, right? Now what happens is your brain registers this tiger as a stress, as danger. And instantly, within a split second, it sends a message through your spinal cord to your adrenal glands, and your adrenal glands secrete what we call stress hormones. Adrenaline, norepinephrine, those are the big names that you've probably heard of. But your adrenal glands just secrete stress hormones. Here's what happens. When we come across that tiger, this is called our fight or flight system, by the way. I call it the stress response, but other people call it our fight or flight system, because you're either going to stay and fight this tiger or you're going to flight. You're going to run. But you got to decide, right? So, bam, we see a tiger. Stress hormones are instantly produced by the adrenal glands. Why? What do those stress hormones do? Well, here's what they do. Stress hormones increase your heart rate and your blood pressure. And that's important because you have to get blood and oxygen to your muscles for when you're running from this tiger. You need that. These stress hormones also increase blood glucose. Remember, glucose is your energy molecule. So we need glucose in the blood so that we can get quick energy, so we can get away from this tiger. Now immediately, those stress hormones will cause an increase in fats in the blood and cholesterol in your blood. And this is important for wound healing, also for more steroid hormone production. So hormones are made out of cholesterol. Now, the next thing that happens is, of course, and I say this, but you might say, duh, of course you're going to have feelings of fear and anxiety if you are coming across a tiger. But you have to remember, that's all created, that's in the system. You're supposed to have these feelings of fear and anxiety because that allows you to concentrate on the tiger. If you weren't scared of it, then you'd be thinking about algebra and geometry, or you'd be thinking of other things, and you wouldn't be focused on that tiger. So all of this is part of the stress response, the fight or flight system. Now, your short-term memory and your ability to learn go way down because that's not important. It's not important to learn algebra right now. You got to get away from this tiger. So your body starts to move things to conserve energy. Serotonin, that's your sleep molecule. It's downregulated. You won't be producing any serotonin when there's stress hormones in your blood. Adrenaline increases, and that's because adrenaline gives you more energy, right? So you have to be alert. You have to be ready to act. You don't want to fall asleep while you're running from a tiger. That makes sense. Sensitivity to pain, these stress hormones also cause sensitivity to pain to increase so that you'll know if you're injured by this tiger. You'll know if he swipes at you. You'll know if you're running from this tiger. You'll know if you're hurt, and you have to respond quickly to that injury. Now, another interesting thing is your immune system drops, your growth and your sex hormones drop, and your bone loss actually increases. And here's why, because your body's so smart, it takes all the energy from things that are not important at that time and moves them to things that are important at that time so that you have the best chance for survival. All of that's pretty cool, right? All of that is God-made system that happens in your body when you come across an acute stress. But you have to remember, we have the same stress hormones during chronic stress. That's stress all the time, and that's in our society. That's what we're under. So your brain perceives the stress. It still sends. Remember, we're going over the chronic stress response here. This means you're under stress all the time. Your brain sends that message to your adrenal glands telling you that you have a stress, and what happens? Well, those stress hormones, remember, they increase your heart rate and they increase your blood pressure so that you could get blood and glucose to your muscles and get away from that tiger. Well, now, day in and day out, when you're producing these stress hormones, all that heart rate increase and all that blood pressure increase over time leads to heart disease, hypertension or high blood pressure, and heart attacks. Blood glucose levels increase in your blood. Remember, glucose was your energy molecule. When we come across the tiger, we need energy to get away from him. Well, over long periods of time, you're looking at diabetes that develops, hypoglycemia. With those stress hormones caused increase of fats in the blood and increase in cholesterol in the blood so that, remember, we could make more hormones and we could, if we were injured, we could do wound healing with fats in the blood. But over long periods of time, we're looking at hardening of the artery, stroke, cardiovascular disease, obesity. Feelings of fear and anxiety. Remember, we needed to concentrate on that threat. But now in long periods of time, these things are causing depression or bipolar or other psychological problems. Our shirt torn. Got a little tongue-tied there. Our short-term memory and our ability to learn was down, right? Because those things aren't important when we're running from a tiger. We don't need to worry about algebra, right? But now we're starting to see more ADD, ADHD. We've never seen these types of numbers of that before in our country. And guess what? We've never been this stressed before. Job struggles, ineffective family life, and other stressors. Remember our serotonin and our adrenaline. Serotonin's your sleep molecule, so we don't want to fall asleep when we're running from a tiger, so we secrete a lot more adrenaline. Well, now over long periods of time of these hormones causing us to have less serotonin and more adrenaline, we're looking at insomnia, we're looking at chronic fatigue, we're looking at burnout. Sensitivity to pain was up. That's what these stress hormones cause so that we can know if we're injured. Well, over long periods of time, we're looking at chronic pain, fibromyalgia. And our immune system was down, our growth and sex hormones were down, and our bone loss was up because those types of things don't need a focused energy while we're running from this tiger, we're trying to survive. But over long periods of time, we're looking at cancer or being sick all the time, or infertility, menstrual problems, impotence, osteoporosis, accelerated aging, and the list goes on. And we were never meant, here's the key, guys, we were never meant to run from a tiger all day long, every day for as long as we live. We were meant to get away from this tiger and be able to rest and allow our hormone levels to go back to normal and allow our brain to relax and not be so stressed. So what we just covered are the diseases of chronic stress. And virtually every major health issue in our society is addressed there. We covered heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, ADD, depression, obesity, anxiety, fatigue, chronic pain, osteoporosis, fibromyalgia, lack of sleep, decreased sex drive, infertility, indigestion, accelerated aging, and that list continues to grow. Now, these are all diseases of lifestyle, you could say, a chronic stress lifestyle. We weren't meant or designed to live in an environment of chronic stress. We were designed to be able to deal with an acute stress and get over it, but not all the time. And what we're living in is a pathological environment. It's not good for us. Now, remember when I told you it's important that our body is able to do this, though? It has a stress response, or we wouldn't even be able to live through the smallest of stressors? Well, that's why I added this part, and I think it's important to see the way medicine looks at these symptoms. And now these are normal responses to chronic stress. Our body does this on purpose. But in medicine, we look at these responses as symptoms. And what do we do to treat symptoms? I'm sure you're probably raising your hand, and I would pick you, and you would say, guess what? We do drugs and surgery. I mean, those are the two things that medicine does, and I'm sure they do a lot more, but basically you're either going to get a prescription or you're going to be recommended for surgery, I'd say 90% of the time. The problem with that is this leads to more drugs and more surgery, and people get caught up in the spiral that they can't get out of. My mom, when she died at 47 years old, was taking 22 prescriptions. 22, and she just couldn't get off of them. She just couldn't get away from it. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? Medicine saves lives, and I'm not trying to say they don't. But in my opinion, there are two good reasons to use drugs and surgery, and that is, number one, if we have a health crisis, right? Let's say your blood pressure is crazy high, then you can, thank goodness there's a medication that can help us get that down, and then hopefully for a short period of time, and then we can make some changes and we can get over that and we can get off that. Or, cancer or heart disease, or if there's a heart attack, right? Those types of things, if you have a health crisis, medicine is great for that, and they can help you. The second type of reason we would need drugs or surgery would be an emergency or a trauma situation, like a car accident or a broken arm. If I have a broken arm, guys, don't take me to the chiropractor. Please, get me to the emergency room. And I want to show you this study that I found by the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization showed that America was number one in the world when it comes to emergency care. Out of the top 40 countries in the world, we're number one. This is the best place in the world. If you're injured, they're going to save your life. But here's what's interesting. In that same study, in the World Health Organization study, they showed that we actually ranked 37 out of 40 in the overall health of our citizens. And here's where I find that interesting. In America, our entire population is only 5 to 7% of the world. Okay, so we think we're a lot bigger than we are, but our population makes up 5 to 7% of the entire world's population. But yet we take 62% of the world's drugs. And we spend twice as much every year as any other country in the world on health care. So let's just say if taking the most drugs and having the most surgery and spending the most money, if that meant health, don't you think we'd be ranked a little bit higher than 37th out of 40? And in fact, those things don't mean health. You can tell that drugs and surgery don't mean health, or else the person who took the most drugs and had the most surgery would be the healthiest, and we actually find that to be the opposite, right? So this is a study that was taken from the Journal of the American Medical Association. So understand that this is edited and produced by medical doctors, and they put it out in their own journal. And this was a study they did in the year 2000. It showed that cardiovascular disease was the number one killer in the United States, and my mom passed away from a heart attack, right? So she's in that category. cancer was the number 2 killer in America, and I lost my grandfather last year to lung cancer. And then this is what I thought was interesting. They put number 3 was medicine, was the number 3 cause of death in the United States, and they killed 400,000 people per year. So they break it down for you. 180,000 was iatrogenic, so caused by the physician. And basically that would be the equivalent of 3 jumbo jets going down every 2 days. 88,000 were infections that people got in the hospital, nosocomial infections. 106,000, this is the part that was interesting to me, 106,000 people died from non-error. That means they took the right medication for the right symptom, they just had a bad reaction to it. And then 225,000 was prescription medical error. So I point that out just to make a point, not to say that we shouldn't trust in medicine, because their numbers are huge. They save lives every year. I'm not trying to say that. What I'm trying to say is this. If I can do some things, if I can change some things in my life and my lifestyle that will decrease my chances of ever having cardiovascular disease, and I can do some things that will decrease my chances of ever having cancer, and then I can decrease my chances, therefore, of ever having to be in the medical system, then I give myself the best possible chance of living a long, healthy life if those are the 3 leading causes of death. And so that's the point I try to make. Now, a lot of people don't really realize that medication should only be used when necessary. A lot of times we pop these things like candy. And so I have a couple stats here to point out. Tylenol is the leading cause of liver damage and kidney damage every year. And actually, that information is a little old. They actually say that antibiotics are actually the leading cause now of liver and kidney damage. Now, the American Association of Cancer Research put out a study that showed aspirin is associated with 84% of pancreatic cancer and 31% of bleeding ulcers. The NSAID, if you don't know what that is, it's non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like over-the-counter, ibuprofen, naproxen, etc. The Journal of the American Medical Association, their very own journal again, say that NSAIDs kill more people than AIDS every year. So these things shouldn't just be taken like candy. We should have a respect for them. Now, there are 3 types of symptoms, okay, overall. Number 1 type of symptom is a warning or an alarm. It's our body's way to get our attention, right? So we're looking at back pain, neck pain, headache. There's a reason why we have pain, and it's a warning system to tell us that we need to get that checked, right? So just taking a pain pill, we have to realize, is just like covering up a check engine light with a black piece of tape and then continuing to drive your car. It probably will drive for a little while, but that's not going to you're going to wonder, it's going to break down sometime, and you're going to wonder why I couldn't see the check engine light. So that type of pain is a check engine light for us. Then the next type of symptom is actually part of the cure, and we don't realize that. So why do we get a fever? If we have, bacteria or a virus, our body gets a fever because when it raises that temperature, it can kill the bacteria or the virus, and it can activate our immune system. There are some immune system cells that are not even activated in your body until your temperature reaches 101 degrees, and then those immune systems cells become activated. Now, vomiting and diarrhea, those can also be part of the cure, and I have a good example to share with you. If you remember, several years back, there was an outbreak of E. coli in spinach, and you couldn't get spinach anywhere because of the E. coli. Well, there was actually, and I forget the exact number, and there was 17 or 18 people who died from that. Now, this E. coli is called a self-limiting bacteria, which means your body should just get rid of E. coli. It shouldn't kill you. It should just give you diarrhea or vomiting, and that's the way your body gets rid of it. Well, we learned something very valuable during that time, and it changed history on how we treat those types of things, because those 17 or 18 people, what they did when they ate that spinach with E. coli and they got diarrhea, they took Imodium AD to stop it up. Then when their body tried to vomit to get rid of that E. coli, we take anti-nausea medications to stop that up, and that E. coli couldn't get free of their system. So remember that sometimes those symptoms are actually your body fighting that. Now, the worst symptom of all sometimes can be no symptom, and we think that doesn't make any sense. But 50% of all heart attacks end in death and had no symptom before that, leading up to it. My mom, she passed away in the middle of the night on her back with her hands folded over her stomach. The heart attack wasn't even enough of a symptom to wake her up. My grandfather, who died of lung cancer, he didn't know he had lung cancer. He just had a little cough, and it wasn't a big symptom at all. And he went to have it checked, and they told him he had stage 4 lung cancer, terminal. So sometimes we have to appreciate those symptoms and know that even if we don't have symptoms, we also need to get checked. Now, with this, we always get the question, so if that's true, how do we know if we're healthy? Well, the definition of real health of the body is optimal function of the body. If your body's functioning correctly, then you're healthy. And so sometimes if you have fever or you're vomiting or diarrhea, sometimes that's a body functioning healthy. So you can be sick but actually still be healthy. And I know that's kind of confusing, but I always explain it by putting health on a scale, right? 0 is death. 10 is complete health, as healthy as you can be. Medicine is great from keeping us to getting down to 0, because 0, we're dead. But medicine can save us from getting there. Thank God for that. But it's not medicine's responsibility to get us to that 10. That 10 is as healthy as we can be. That's our responsibility. And here, if you don't believe me, try this. Try going to your local hospital, walking in the hospital and saying, just make me healthy, guys. I'm here for you to make me healthy. Well, they're probably going to look at you kind of funny. They might even check you in, but you're going to have to wear a funny jacket because they're going to tell you that's not what they do, right? They save lives every day, but it's our responsibility to make ourselves as healthy as possible. So with knowing all of that and learning that, here's the big question. How do we achieve health in a stressful environment, right? And Gina snapped a picture of me this morning when I woke up, so I want to put that on there. That's on the left, and then, no, I'm just kidding. That's a cool cat, though. So how do we go from stress to health? Well, there's 2 strategies, and we need to implement both of these strategies. Number 1, obviously, being reduce the amount of physical, chemical, and emotional stress in our bodies and in our life. And we can do that to a point, but let's be realistic. We can't reduce all the stress in our life. Everybody's going to have stress. So the second strategy is the one that we really need to focus on, and that is improving your body's ability to adapt to stress. So the healthier you are, the closer you are to that 10, remember I talked about the 10 being as healthy as you can be, the closer you are to that 10, the less stress will cause that stress response. So in other words, the closer you are to that 10, the more stress it's going to take before your body actually secretes stress hormones. And so you'll be able to deal with and adapt to stress the healthier you are. So there's 4 keys to doing that. There's 4 keys to getting to that 10. And we have to do them all, but they're not, some of them aren't easy. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is the innate diet. And you have to work on this, guys. I know diet and eating properly is the hardest. It's the hardest key. That's why I go over it first. It's the hardest one, especially in our society, because there's so many foods that are easy to get and fast to get. We have to always work on this. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to be working on it. And here's the keys. 65%, this is the innate diet, by the way, 65% fruits and veggies, 35% proteins, 1 cup of grain a day, if any. That's what we ate back in the Paleolithic times when we didn't have any chronic diseases. But here's the key. Eat more fruits and vegetables. God put the exact nutrients in the exact amounts that we need to help run our body inside fruits and inside vegetables. And so we need to, if all we did was just increase our amount of fruits and vegetables that we eat, then you're doing yourself a favor and you're moving yourself towards that 10. If you can't eat fruits, you can't eat vegetables, then I would recommend getting maybe a green powder or a supplement, that is basically just dried, powdered vegetables that you can put in your drink and drink it. But we've got to get those nutrients in our body somehow. If you do take multivitamins, I recommend a whole food multivitamin, and that's really just fruits and vegetables packed in, and you take that. 35% proteins, those are healthy proteins, guys. It's not a McDonald's burger. That is maybe a healthy steak. A grass-fed is better. But this, like I said, this is the hardest key. We're going to get to some easier keys here in just a second. We always have to work on this. And I'll give you a tip. This is what I do, and it helps me. is I'll keep a log, and everything that is healthy for me that I eat or drink, I give myself a +1 during my day. Everything that I eat or drink that's unhealthy for me, I give myself a -1. And at the end of the day, I want to have a large positive number. And if I don't, I know I had a bad day. I had an unhealthy day, and that means the next one needs to be even better. So if that's the way we can kind of keep track of it and judge ourselves on how well we're doing with our diet. Now the next key, as you can see here, is exercise. And I know for a lot of people this is a dirty word, but you got to exercise, and it's so important. If all you do is just go for a walk, exercise is necessary, especially in our society where we are moving less than humans ever have before. So we've got to do this, and they recommend 3 days a week, 15 to 30 minutes per day. At least increase your functional exercise. And when I say functional exercise, I mean, don't drive around the parking lot 50 times to try to find that one spot right by the front door. If you're going to the store, park in the back of the parking lot. Make yourself walk all the way to the grocery store and walk all the way back. And then, start slowly increasing your movement and exercises like that. But exercise is a must, and it's a key. The third key is something that's easier to do. It's still hard, but it's easier to do, and this is a proven fact that optimists live longer than pessimists. There was a study done by the University of Pittsburgh. They showed that optimists live a longer and healthier life. They showed that women who said they expected good things rather than bad things to happen were 30% less likely to die from heart disease, and they were 14% less likely to die from any other thing. They just lived longer. So positive thinking skills, continually working on making ourselves stay positive, and this is hard to do in our society because the news and everything is so negative, but we've got to keep positive on the inside. Now that's 3 keys. The 4th key is the one that people completely forget about, and they don't. There's a lot of people that are not doing this, and that's the chiropractic adjustment, or at least taking care of your spine. Now, your nervous system consists of your brain, your spinal cord, and all your nerves. And get this, your nervous system controls everything in your entire body. Subluxation, that's a big word, but we'll define it in just a second. Subluxation can destroy nerve signals that are going to your body. And the adjustments that we talk about are correct subluxation. So subluxation is a misalignment of the spine that causes nerve interference to organs, cells, and tissues of the body. It can lead to symptoms. It can lead to disease, and then potentially it can lead to just complete system failure in your body. This is an analogy that I always use, and I'll show you the nervous system here. Your nervous system is so ingrained. You have a nerve that goes to every cell in your body. If we were to take off all the flesh, take out all the blood and bones, and all the veins and arteries, and all you left was your nervous system, just all your nerves, I'd still be able to recognize you. That's how ingrained your nervous system is in your body. And remember what we talked about, what was the definition of health? We said the definition of health is a body that's functioning properly. Now, this is the system, your nervous system controls the function of every part of your entire body. So it makes sense, if health is proper function, that we need to take care of our nervous system so that that system that controls function will be able to function properly. So what we're looking at here basically is the nerves on the left is part of the nervous system that controls muscle, pain, tingling, numbness, burning, incoordination, weakness, those types of things. The nervous system, branch of the nervous system on your right are the nerves that go to your organs. And most of this system, we don't have pain fibers. So that's why we don't feel, plaque in the arteries. We won't even know we have heart disease or cancer in an organ. Some people don't even know they have cancer because there's not a lot of pain fibers in that part of the nervous system. That part of the nervous system is what the brain controls the organs with, and that's why we need to get our spines checked regularly. So I'm going to end this with a couple of actual case studies where I'll show you before and after x-rays of someone who had terrible subluxation and then had it corrected through chiropractic and through our office. Now, there was a 40-year-old female, and she came in with neck pain and radiating arm pain. She even had some asthma, low energy, was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. Now I want you to see the before x-ray, and I know if you haven't looked at x-rays before, this is kind of hard to see, but basically on the left, upper left, you'll see that's the jaw. On the upper right, that is the back of the head, and then those bones that are in that curve are curving forward. So this person is facing to your left. If you're looking at the screen, this person is facing left. Now you should have a good curve in the spine. Here's what it should look like. The picture on the left is when she came in. The picture on the right is after we corrected that alignment and took pressure off of that nervous system, and the pain in the neck went away, the radiating arm pain went away, and her health improved. Now I'll show you this one. I love this one. This is little Margaret, and she's only 4. Whether you're 2 or 102, you should have a good curve in the neck. And this is the same picture with her facing to the left. It's not the same picture. It's Margaret's x-ray, but she's facing to the left, and you can see how straight the spine is. It should be along that black curve that's there. It's very straight. Little Margaret had strep throat all the time. She had 50 rounds of antibiotics since she was born, is what her mom said. So 4 years. In 4 years, she had 50 rounds of antibiotics, which can't be healthy. Ear infections all the time, and she was told by her doctor that she needed tubes in her ears. Well, here is an x-ray of 6 weeks after that show correction of the curve, and her medical doctor called that because her ear infections stopped, and that was called spontaneous remission. So we'll take spontaneous remission, and she's doing great, and she hasn't had another round of antibiotics, and she's doing great. Now, here's the last one, and this one's close to my heart, and I love this set of x-rays because this is Lisa. She's 17, menstrual problems, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic low back pain, and this x-ray is different. This is of the pelvis and the front of the spine, so we're looking right on, and when we're looking right on at someone, that spine should be straight. There shouldn't be any curves in the spine, but you can see that in hers there are, and it's not a coincidence that she's having menstrual problems, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic low back pain, and that is exactly what those nerves control from that part of the spine. Now, when I look at this, it makes me wonder, what my mom's spine looked like, and at that age, or even, when she passed away. And so what I did was I actually went to hospitals in New Mexico where my mom had stayed, and I went and I gathered all the imaging. I gathered all the x-rays. I gathered all her MRIs and CTs. I gathered over $100,000 worth of imaging, and I went through them one by one by one. And I wanted to show them to you, but the reason why they're not up here is because of all that imaging, $100,000 worth or more, there was not one picture of the spine. They took a picture, they took x-rays of everything that hurt, her knees and ankles and elbows, CT scans of her head, and MRIs of every organ in her body, but nothing on the spine. And it's not, it's not that it's their fault. I believe it's, chiropractic's fault for not finding her and reaching out to her. And that's another reason why I do these webinars, is because we all need to get our spine checked by a chiropractor, because that's what we do, and chiropractors drop the ball on that. But we check alignment, and we check the spine for health. And if it needs to, we adjust the spine. But here is, here's Lisa's x-ray after a course of 6 months of care, and those problems that she'd had gone away, and she's still, it's not perfect, but it's much, much, much better. And what I like to say, what I like to see is that, Lisa's going to grow old. She's going to live a lot longer than 47, and she's going to get to see her grandkids grow up. And so that's why I do what I do, and why I share this this message and this webinar with people. And so the main thing, the point is that the chiropractic adjustment, guys, if done correctly, it's so powerful, it can change your life forever. And I have a special gift for you guys. If you're in our area, our office is in Northwest Houston, and if you'd like a checkup, and even hold on, if you're not in our area, I've got another gift for you as well. But if you're in our area and you'd like a spinal checkup, we will include that for free, actually. And what I'm going to do is up to 72 hours after this webinar, you can call. So by Friday, if you call by the end of work on Friday and schedule your appointment, or if someone you know would like to schedule an appointment, we'll do that for absolute free. That includes your exam, your nerve scans, or even your x-rays, your report of findings, and even your first adjustment. If we find subluxation, we'll include that. That's over $150 value, and that's and good until Friday. So there's definitely limited appointments available. And the last thing, here's our phone number if you need it, or our website. If you're not from around here, well, even if you're still on this call at all, if you haven't been to homespinalcare.com, you can check that out. There's an ebook that I wrote that's free on there to download and some videos. And those are all spinal hygiene exercises. So, guys, we take care of our teeth really great. I mean, we brush our teeth, we floss, we go to get checkups regularly from our teeth, but we don't do anything to take care of our spine, and we just expect it to be healthy. So if you go to homespinalcare.com, you'll see some spinal hygiene exercises. They're 2 easy 2-minute exercises that you can do every morning and every night, just like you brush your teeth, that will help your spine stay better and healthier between chiropractic adjustments and between checkups. So again, I really appreciate you guys being on. We can do a question and answer. If there's any questions, I'll cover them now. But again, thank you for being on here tonight. We really appreciate it. Hope you have a great night. And we'll talk to you later. Thanks. All right. Good. Well, I stopped the recording. And again, I really appreciate y'all being on here tonight. And if you ever need anything, just give us a call, or I should have said my email while I was recording, but it's drtabor, T-A-B-O-R, @live.com. And if you need anything, just let me know. We'll be here. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.